Hello my friends, I am the Synodic Scribe, your delver into all things lore, and today we are going to address something that is equally exciting and confusing to many members of the Final Fantasy XIV community. If you are not in the know, the Japanese or Tokyo Fanfest for 2024 had a lot of fantastic and interesting reveals for the upcoming Dawntrail expansion. Pictomancer was announced, Beastmaster was told to be the next limited job, and a few other developments like the reveal of female Hrothgar were just a few of the things that people were excited to see. However, there was one thing about the entire presentation that stood out like a sore thumb to a lot of players, and that was the reveal of a new zone in Dawntrail called Solution 9. At first glance, Solution 9 simply looks like a zone dedicated to a higher end of technology and advancement within the world of Final Fantasy XIV, and let's be honest with ourselves, the game has not shied away from using technology, or what we would consider advanced technology, more than once. The Allagan Empire was all about super advanced technology, Garlemald had more advanced technology than most other places in the world, and then, at the very end of Endwalker, we see the kind of technology that old Charlene themselves had come up with. So to say that a location like Solution 9 is completely out of place, isn't exactly accurate, because we have dealt with this before. In fact, the Final Fantasy franchise as a whole has never shied away from the conflict and friction generated by magic and technology colliding with one another. I would dare say that it's a trope that many games in Final Fantasy use over and over and over again. So what makes the addition of Solution 9 so contentious for a lot of people? Well, to understand that, we have to understand the two camps in which people fall in under. The first is that Solution 9 excited a lot of people. Its inclusion into the story had invigorated their interest in Dawntrail in a way that the previous trailers haven't really been able to kindle. People that enjoy that more technological or sci-fi aspect of a video game are going to feel right at home in places like Solution 9. However, there was also a chunk of people that felt like the writers have officially jumped the shark with this city's inclusion. Now, I cannot speak for everyone, but from what I've seen, its inclusion feels awkward because none of the trailers have been able to thoroughly communicate that this was going to be a thing. In fact, if you just watch the Dawntrail trailers from start to finish, you kind of get the sense that this is going to be a sort of return to the wilds kind of adventure for this expansion, a sort of back to form for the Warrior of Light, back when they were dealing with more primitive issues like beast tribes and city-states and stuff back in the days of ARR and Heavensward. So the sudden and random inclusion of a massive hyper-advanced society out of nowhere feels almost out of place to a lot of players. And, well, I can't say either side is wrong. I'm happy that those who are excited, but I also understand why those who feel that this is randomly injected into the story also feel a bit confused. But today I'm going to be using my skills as a lore channel to try and explain what may or may not be happening here. My assertions could be exactly on the dot when the expansion releases, or I could be entirely wrong. In fact, if you have your own theories that don't line up with anything I'm about to say, don't forget to leave your opinion down in the comment section below. So I am going to start with Final Fantasy XIV's constant use of inspiration. What do I mean by that? Well, Final Fantasy XIV has shown that they are not shy of taking inspiration from other Final Fantasy games. A Realm Reborn has a lot of inspiration from Final Fantasy III. Shadowbringers has a lot of inspiration from Final Fantasy VIII. Endwalker has heavy inspiration from Final Fantasy IV, which brings us to Dawntrail and asking which Final Fantasy game could this possibly be drawing inspiration from? Any of you listening who have previously played other Final Fantasy games likely got a Esthar vibe from Final Fantasy VIII or a Midgard vibe from Final Fantasy VII when you saw Solution 9. And I can't say you're wrong for feeling that way. Esthar was a location in Final Fantasy VIII that used hyper-advanced technology to not only seclude themselves, but take care of themselves hidden away from the world. So far, that closely matches what we can assume from Solution 9. However, despite the similarities, myself and many other people have pointed out that Solution 9 is likely taking heavy inspiration from Final Fantasy IX. Not only is Solution 9 one of the abilities that Zidane Tribal can use while in a trance, but the entire job of Viper with his twin blades and abilities closely match with many of Zidane's presumed animations within the Final Fantasy IX franchise. So, we can argue that Dawntrail is already revealing its hand when it comes to its inspiration. And some of you who have played Final Fantasy IX may be asking yourself, well, what possible culture could Solution 9 be taking inspiration from? None of the societies within Final Fantasy IX were this advanced. And to this I would say, you're more or less correct. We didn't see technology on this scale in Final Fantasy IX at all. However, we did see a similar concept, and that is Terra. To those of you who have never played Final Fantasy IX, I am about to try to condense tons of lore down for you, and I don't want to hear anyone complain about spoilers. That game is super old. If you haven't played Final Fantasy IX yet, you're probably not going to. But getting back on track, we need to ask ourselves, what is Terra, and what does it mean to Solution 9 in Final Fantasy XIV? Terra, or the Terrans, were a civilization, planet/group of people that were existing within the world of Final Fantasy IX, known as Gaia. So, you had a world nesting within a world, but why? Well, the people from Terra were essentially trying to steadily replace the people of Gaia. Essentially, the world of Terra was acting as a parasite to try to take the place of Gaia. If the plans of the villains in Final Fantasy IX were allowed to come to fruition, essentially everyone on Gaia would die, and Terra would take over. I bring this up because Solution 9 could very well be the Terra of Final Fantasy XIV. The reason I believe this is multifaceted, with one of the biggest reasons being the fact that many people have pointed out that the characters and letters that you see within some of the screenshots for Solution 9 and Arcadia are actually the proto-alphabet of Aetheris, essentially, I guess you would say, the ancient language. The reason I think this is important is because in the story of Final Fantasy XIV, the Ascians confessed that they planned on eventually freeing the souls trapped within Zodiark and steadily reintegrating them into the modern age. Just like those from Terra were trying to reintegrate themselves and take the place of Gaia's inhabitants in Final Fantasy IX. There are 4 Ascians unaccounted for still, even after everything we've experienced in the MSQ. Those Ascians are Ultima, Dudelaphon, Halmarut, and Poshtarat. Now, I understand some people will say, well, Gaius has 2 red masks on his belt, and you would be absolutely right. Those are the masks of Ultima and Dudelaphon. However, after combing the lore over and over again, I never found any evidence that Gaius used a permanent method of slaying them. All it says over and over again is that he defeated them and took their mask, and as we all know, simply defeating an Ascian is not enough. So unless the story plans on elaborating on how he accomplished this, I can't give him the complete win against Ultima and Dudelaphon. Or perhaps Dawntrail will finally elaborate on this inconsistency. But here's the kicker. Even if Ultima and Dudelaphon are permanently slain, that still leaves 2 Ascians unaccounted for, Halmarut and Poshtarat. Throughout the entire story of Final Fantasy XIV, I believe we only saw Halmarut and Poshtarat once, a long time ago back in ARR when the Convocation were having their secret Ascian meeting. What if this entire time the reason we did not see either of them was because they were working on Solution 9? What if they were developing a city so advanced that it was supposed to be the location in which the souls of the ancients would be switched out with the souls of those living in the modern age? What if Solution 9 was to be the solution to the Ascians' problem? The problem of bringing their old, dead civilization back to the modern age. Just like the characters in Final Fantasy IX were attempting to move and replace the people living within Gaia. If that's true, well, Solution 9 pretty much has lost all of its purpose. Zodiark and all of his sundered copies have dissolved and merged with not only the source, but their own respective reflections as well, so all of those souls are, well, gone. Returned to the ethereal realm with no easy way of retrieving them. The reason I feel so strongly that this may be the true nature of Solution 9 is because I do not believe that any society would have become this advanced without Ascian aid. Remember, my friends, the entire reason that Garlemald was so technologically advanced was because of the help of Emmet Selk. So it stands to reason that if multiple Ascians were made to work on the same societal project, well, they may come up with something even more grand. I understand that a lot of people are suggesting that it's an Allegan ruin or something reminiscent of Allegan technology. However, I can't safely agree with that for two reasons. Number one, the Allegan Empire never made it to the New World before collapsing and falling victim to the Fourth Umbral Calamity. And secondly, their style of technological advancement doesn't exactly match with what we've seen in Solution 9 so far. If it is an Allegan ruin, well, the writers do indeed have some explaining to do for sure. However, that is simply my theory based off of context clues, missing Ascians, and unrevealed plans. In fact, many people have pointed out what some of the words in Solution 9 actually are saying, and I'm surprised at how many people picked up on that so quickly. I'm very impressed. Hats off to all of you. And not just that, there are some people that have asserted that some of the iconography within Arcadia is reminiscent of Ascian masks, which, again, would point in the direction that this is an Ascian-made city for one reason or another. And if they are taking inspiration from Final Fantasy IX, I would say that Solution 9 is designed to, or was designed to reintegrate the ancients back into the modern world. But now that Solution is gone, the world is saved, the final days have been averted. So, that begs the question, what purpose could Solution 9 serve now? But, ladies and gentlemen, that is only my current theory. I could be completely wrong when Dawntrail finally launches and we get our hands on the story. I'm not going to give the writers too much trouble until I actually see the story. Will it be as amazing as some people say now, or will it really be as if the writers had jumped the shark like some other people have said? We won't know until it's released. So my friends, how do you feel about Solution 9 and its inclusion into the story of Final Fantasy XIV? Let me know how you feel down below, and please, if you love lore and you love the Final Fantasy XIV lore community, do not forget to subscribe to this channel for more content on a regular basis. If you enjoy these kind of theory crafting videos, I may try to do more in the future. But instead of rambling, I will leave that there for now. And as always, stay safe, my friends. Thank you all for watching to the end. If you enjoyed this video, why not subscribe and share this with your fellow adventurers? With your help, I'll try to reach out even further and bring even greater stories to you. Although, I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge my biggest contributors. A grand thank you to Amina Viltaria, Slippers, Potato, Sage Mouse, Sinalv Bagel, Cizani, and Travan Shea, with an additional nod to the scholarships on screen. Links to things like my Twitter and that of my channel artist Caddy can be found in the description. Thank you all for your viewership, as well as your support. and I hope all of you have a wonderful day. Class dismissed.